So in the last video we talked about bell. Today we'll talk about earthquakes, which is something that we Portuguese have very much in our minds because we know that Lisbon suffered a very, very big earthquake, and we are always a bit afraid that it will be repeated quite soon. Let's hope it doesn't, but we never know. The most common word to talk about an earthquake in Portugal is terremoto. This word is mainly used when the earthquake is quite significant, when there is some destruction involved. And this is the form used in Portugal. In Brazil, we use, well, not we, but Brazilians use terremoto, which is in fact the traditional form of the word even in Portugal. Portuguese people changed it throughout the times into terremoto, probably because it seems more, terremoto is more similar to terra, which means earth. So we changed it unconsciously into terremoto, earthquake. Well, moto and quake has no real connection, but they mean more or less the same thing. So terremoto and terremoto mean the same thing, significant earthquake. Then we have the expression tremor de terra, a shake of the earth. This is used when we have a small earthquake, when we feel the earth trembling, but it's not something that destroys buildings or that kills people. I've felt my share of tremores de terra, which is a plural form, in my life, but I've never experienced a terremoto, a real earthquake, so to speak. Then we have the technical word sismo, which is connected to some English words. For example, seismologist, who is the scientist that studies earthquakes. We have this Greek word. This word comes from the Greek, and it means any kind of terremoto or tremor de terra. One sismo is any one of those events. And this is a quite technical, well, not quite technical word in the sense that everyone knows this word. This word is very common and is understood by everyone. But in daily life, we won't talk about sismos, which is a plural form. We will talk about tremores de terra or terremotos. The biggest earthquake in Portugal was the great earthquake of 1755, o grande terremoto de 1755, the great earthquake of Lisbon, o grande terremoto de Lisboa. And nowadays we have a museum dedicated to that specific earthquake. The museum is called, in English, Quake. And I'm telling you the name of the museum not as a translation from a Portuguese name into English, but as the real name of the museum. It's in English, Quake. It's a bit strange, and some people said, and I understand them, why can't we use a Portuguese name for a Portuguese museum about a Portuguese event? We could use, for example, the date, 1755. It would be recognizable for Portuguese people and tourists coming here. But anyway, the museum decided to use the word quake, and it's a very interesting museum, despite the strange English name. And well, I can't complain. I'm talking in English right now, but anyway, go there if you come to Lisbon. It will be a very nice and instructive experience. So these are the 5 ways that we can use to talk about an earthquake. Now you know how to talk about earthquakes in Portuguese. And by the way, if you want to know more about the great earthquake of Lisbon, you have a book by Rui Tavares, a Portuguese historian. He wrote a wonderful non-fiction book that can be read by anyone, and it tells us a lot about European history and world history and the history of earthquakes in general. Well, more about this particular earthquake, but it's really interesting. And you have a Portuguese edition and an English edition. So this is the book that I would recommend if you want to know a bit more about that very important event in our Portuguese history. Thank you so much. If you have any suggestion, just let me know. See you next time.